of Euripec Talks. My name is Geoffrey Obbo. I'm a researcher at the Human Rights and Peace Center, a department in the School of Law at Makerere University, Kampala. You're welcome to this episode of Euripec's Talks, where we are looking at localizing debates on cooking fuels amid energy transition and climate change dilemmas in East Africa. This episode is titled Rurality, Youth, and Charcoal Livelihoods in Uganda. We invite you to join us as we shall be exploring how charcoal and other forms of cooking energies impact the livelihood of youth and other persons also living in rural areas. Through this episode, we will examine how charcoal as a cooking energy impacts the livelihood of youth. We shall also explore how charcoal and other clean cooking energies impact the livelihood of other people living in rural areas, also including women, though we shall mainly focus on the youth, but we shall also look at other groups, special interest groups like women, the persons with disabilities, and other persons. We shall also explore the roles that the youth have in the clean cooking agenda, in the clean cooking energy transition agenda in Uganda. To explore this topic with me, I am joined by the distinguished Dr. Mary Ejang. Dr. Mary Ejang, you're welcome.
Thank you for hosting me.
Right, thank you so much. We are glad to host you in this discussion. Maybe a brief introduction. Dr. Mary Ejang is an associate professor of sociology at Lira University, the Department of Public Administration and Management, at the Faculty of Management of Sciences. She holds a PhD in sociology and a master's degree in population development and a bachelor's degree in education. All these are from Makerere University, and she's an associate professor and a dean emeritus at the Faculty of Management Sciences from Lira University. She held this position from 2019 until recently in 2024. She's also a former head of department, development studies at Gulu University. This was from 2012 to 2017. She's best suited for this topic as she has done really significant research on gender, youth livelihoods, and made contribution to different books. Maybe she can tell us briefly about, the books where you've done some research on youth and livelihoods.
Thank you very much, Geoffrey, for hosting me to be part of this debate on localizing charcoal use in the rural context of Uganda. You're right, I have done some study on the youth. In fact, as part of my postdoctoral research project, funded by SIDA project, SIDA Sarek, Makerere University, I conducted a study on tackling youth unemployment with Youth Livelihood Program in northern Uganda. This was part of a book chapter published in a book titled Local Realities, Contemporary Social Development Issues in Uganda, edited by Professor William Muhumuza and Professor Stefan Hoja from Sweden. This book is published by Fountain Publishers. You can go online and you tackle it. You will get more details about the book. The book brings forth the challenges which our youth are undergoing that explains why majority of them are unemployed and how government program through the Youth Livelihood initiative is trying to bridge that gap of youth unemployment. I have also done quite a number of studies on gender, which I may not talk much about it here, as our focus is mainly on the youth and fuel charcoal use in this country. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for the book. As you mentioned, it's online. I think anyone who really is interested in knowing more about youth unemployment and the Youth Livelihood Program, especially in northern Uganda, you can access it online. And yes, this research in the book is quite relevant to the topic that we have today.
Thank you.
Yes. So if maybe before we start off, if you are interested in research and discussions on human rights, law and peace in Uganda and in East Africa, then this podcast, Rurality Talks, is for you. The show is hosted at Makerere University and it features experts and opinion leaders in different subject matters. Please remember to like, subscribe and turn on notifications to stay on top of the loop with the latest research and the discussions. Yes, maybe just before we go more into our details, Dr. Mary, recently Uganda conducted a national census, and in this national census it shows that the youth are the majority of the population. Over 70% of the population is below 30 years, and in this below 30 years, with 22.7% of the population are between 18 and 30 of this 70%. But also it shows that there is a challenge of youth unemployment, as especially this age gap between 18 and 30, with 16% of them not having being unemployed. And also from our research, we realized that even where the youth are unemployed, one of the areas that have helped to fill in this gap of unemployment, especially in our research, we've seen it comes to cooking fuels, charcoal. It plays it's essential in youth livelihoods as it integrates in several forms in the aspect of livelihoods concerning the youth. So maybe I would like to understand from your perspective, if you can maybe help give us a context of how cooking energies in Uganda, the discussion on cooking energies, how is it critical for the livelihoods of youth in Uganda?
Thank you very much, Geoffrey, for involving me in this very important discussion. Cooking energies is essential to every human life, because without cooking energies, you cannot have food. And I would like to bring to your attention that access to clean cooking energy and a healthy environment has been declared by the United Nations as a universal human right. However, in Uganda, there is a great challenge of accessing clean cooking energy, which actually is regressing our achievement towards this declaration of universal rights of access to clean energy. And we also have to bring to the attention of the audience that the youth are the majority globally, not only in Uganda. Yeah. 90% of the world's population are youth. They account for 1.8 billion people, majority of whom live in developing countries. And unfortunately, in developing countries, 2.4 billion people still rely on the traditional cooking technologies, like the charcoal stove, like the wood, firewood, which actually create very negative, environmental health system that directly affect not only the youth, but the entire population. Specifically to the youth, therefore, being the majority, this topic is very critical, because they constitute a critical mass of the stakeholders that should actually come to the forefront of discussing strategies to enhance access to clean cooking energy. At every stage of policy formulation, the youth should be involved. Secondly, I also envisage youth involvement in this discussion as being critical from the health perspective. Aware that using unsafe or dirty cooking technology pollutes the environment. And environmental pollution, right from household poor air pollution, creates a lot of impact on the youth health and the women at the forefront, who actually are the central agents of cooking in every household. As a result, there is a significant increase on health-related risk, which arise from hazardous means of cooking, leading to risky factors like respiratory tract disease, heart disease, lung cancer, that actually accounts globally for 3.2 million premature deaths annually. The youth being at the forefront of cooking in every household definitely affected.
I think that is relevant, especially because even in our research, as we were moving around, we found we've seen many youths complain, especially the ones who are in the markets cooking, who are making chapati, roasting chicken, and many of them complain about chest pain, and many of them are linking it to the being exposed to the smoke. So I think that's really quite relevant.
Yeah. Secondly, I also associate this with the education process. The schooling time is reduced. How does this make sense? In Uganda, whether it is central, northern, western, the youth and women are the ones who are involved in fetching the cooking fuel. Whether it is the charcoal, whether it is the fuel, they are the ones who, go fetching this fuel for cooking. Now, research has indicated that in this country, every minute that the youth spend in collecting firewood or cooking energy, the time for schooling is reduced by 0.4%. So a minute delay in fetching firewood reduces, the time for schooling. And the most affected in this category are the girl child.
The women who are youths.
Yes, the women who are involved in the process of fetching firewood. They are exposed to a lot of risk, and in the long run, actually, some of them end up dropping out of school. And then the male youth, on the other hand, take fuel production, basically firewood and charcoal, as a means of livelihood in trade. They fetch and then sell them to make a living. So I see that the discussion on cooking fuel is significantly affecting the youth time for schooling, negatively actually. Yeah. I also relate this discussion to displacement. Let me cite an example of northern Uganda.
Yes.
That is, receiving quite a number of displaced persons from South Sudan.
Yes.
And then the western, we also have many fleeing conflicts from Congo.
Yes.
If you took a survey, you will realize that 80% of those displaced persons are youth. And how do they earn a living in those camps? We have Bidibidi camp, we have many camps in Ajumani, we have Laropi. These youth are actually destroying the environment.
Yeah, I think that's really true, because once in doing research on this subject, we were in, I think, in Lamo and even in Madiokolo district,
yes,
which has actually Madiokolo has more refugees than Ugandans living in it. And many of the community, you ask them about destruction of the environment, they relate it to the refugees. And I remember we got a chance to interact with also the refugees and also the communities, but also the communities acknowledge that when a refugee comes, I think they give them a really small place of about 40 feet by something. It's a small measurement. And from there, you have to get your food, you have to get your cooking fuel, which
construction materials.
Your construction materials, which is really unreasonable. So where do they go? They look to the nearest forest.
Exactly. Yes. And, by infringing on the natural forest, they're actually an agent of environmental degradation, because actually they deforest, completely cut down the trees, starting from construction of shelter, clearing, those plots of land to cultivate food crops, and also, gathering the cooking firewood. Yeah. So I associate these discussions to displacement, where the youth are the majority of environmental degradation. But it is not their fault. It is circumstances that bring them or cause them to be in that state.
Yes.
Yeah. Related to that is the issue of climate change. While the youth may not be the only set of population that are responsible for environmental degradation and climate change that actually comes in the long run, they are the majority of the population who suffer the consequence of this degradation in the long run severely. So therefore, the world must take more decisive action to halt this climate change dilemma and degradation. Otherwise, we continuously pollute this environment, and by the time the old generation will leave this planet Earth, it implies that the new generation, who are the youth, will inherit an inhabitable planet Earth, which will make their life very challenging, because natural resources will not be there. Fundamentally, the forest resource, the forest resource that actually absorb these greenhouse gases, which are emitted by industries and other sources into the atmosphere. So environment and climate change is another critical factor that makes the youth central in the discussion of access to clean energy.
All right. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. That's really quite interesting, because from your discussion, you've really touched on several aspects that make youth really relevant and to this discussion, especially from your discussion. What I get, very many human rights are implicated. From your discussion, I can point out the right to health. You brought out youth which are implicated by these clean cooking energies. You talked about the right to education.
Yes.
Where you talked about reduced time in schooling, people looking for cooking energies.
Yes.
All this, so it reduces the schooling time, especially for young girls who have to look for firewood. But you've also talked about the right to a clean and healthy environment.
Yes. Maybe to wind up that question, there is that component of employment.
True.
The majority of the unemployed population in Uganda, let me contextualize it, are the youth, aging between 18 to 30, based on the research that I published as a book chapter. I noted that about 700 Ugandan youth enter the labor market annually.
Oh.
However, there is an increasing unemployment rate yearly by 13.4%. Now, lack of formal jobs means that this youth will resort onto the environment as a means of livelihood. There is usually skills mismatch, informal sector being dominated by this youth, and as a result, the youth will resort to charcoal burning, cutting down trees for sale. They will make bricks, and process the value chain for brick making requires logs for burning it. So where do they get it from? From the environment. So from this perspective, I can say that youth unemployment makes the discussion of the youth in relation to access to clean energy very critical. Right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think that is true, because we found also that many youths are employed, especially in this energy value chain, from the level of, they're actually major participants, from the burning to the transporting to the selling and all that. But maybe I would, this may be going off script. In the research, we are told that many youths, I don't know if you can help give us context of maybe the employment. We were in the research in northern Uganda. One of the things that have come out is the consequence of the LRA and its relation to environment destruction and youth. Several respondents have said that the youths, especially who grew up in IDP camps, did not learn form of work, farming, and all that, because they relied on relief from these institutions of World Food Program and all that. So when the camps were closed, they had to go back home and they had to look for work, because now there's not more WFP. And many attributed that the nearest closest things the youth could see were the forests.
Exactly.
Were the forests that they grew at. And many of the people we met, especially who are not youth, say it's because they were lazy.
Yeah.
Yes, they said they were lazy after the camp. So I don't know what perspective do you give us? Because for the youth saw it as an employment opportunity, but the youth are also being criticized for being lazy and looking at quick money from the forest and therefore destroying the environment.
Thank you very much, Geoffrey, for bringing in that aspect of the youth and the war. You know, I would say that the youth are just victims of the war and displacement. It's true that northern Uganda suffered a series of civil strife for over 20 years. You can imagine 2 decades. And it is true that about 1.8 million Ugandans from the northern part of Uganda lived in internally displaced camps. Yes, for 22 years until 2002. When the population now began to return, but still settled in satellite camps. Now, the youth were displaced in camps. One, they were deprived of all sorts of rights, access to education, access to health, access to good livelihood were cut off completely. So what were the alternatives? We had humanitarian agencies like the World Food Program that was supplying handouts for this displaced population in the camps. Because of insecurity, this population could not access land to cultivate and produce food. Surviving on handouts definitely instill that dependency syndrome in individuals, even if you are the one. You know, referring to this Chinese slogan, teach me to fish instead of giving me a fish. So in this context, the youth were being given fish, but not being trained on how to fish. They could not now catch the fish. So these youth were not trained to cultivate. These youth missed the basic formal education. If they had access to, then what was the quality of this education system? So missing formal training means they could not access the formal labor market. That is one. And then when they reached that age of becoming independence, they resorted to nearby natural resources to make a living. So this confirms your research from the field that yes, in northern Uganda, the youth resorted to deforestation and swamp utilization to earn a living. Yes.
All right. Thank you. That's really interesting and good. It gives us a really good perspective on the environment, the youth, but also it brings in the new element of conflict and post-conflict. How integration of livelihoods and all that. Yes, but also maybe next, maybe what I would like us to discuss are the interests of the youth in aspects of clean cooking energy. Do all youths have the same interest in the urban areas, in the rural areas? What are the different interests? But also, how can we make sure that there is just protection of the interests of all the youths, of different youths, and there are different interests as regard clean cooking energies and cooking energies per se.
Okay. Thank you very much, Geoffrey. Uganda conducted a census in May 2024.
Yes.
And one of the findings that arose from the National Housing and Census was that 72.6% of Ugandan population live in the rural areas. And out of this 72, 80% lie within the age bracket of 18 to 30. Now, while the majority live in rural areas, there is a very slight disparity of interest between those in the urban and the rural youth, in regard to access and utilization to clean cooking fuel. Unlike the urban youth, the rural youth are less informed about the impacts of climate change and its consequences on human life. And it is the reason why the rural youth are the majority who engage in the value chain, the charcoal value chain from production. In fact, they are involved at the very beginning, the root, which is production. They are the ones who are involved in cutting down trees to burn, charcoal. They see it as a source of livelihood, while another segment of the population, the middlemen, are involved in the trade. Yes. So, in the rural sector, the youth do engage in that. However, these youth do not engage in charcoal production because they wanted it, but it is circumstance that conditioned them to do that. They encounter quite a number of challenges or barriers that, cannot enable them access clean cooking energy. Among some of those energies is the affordability of the clean cooking technologies. The upfront cost, the initial cost of accessing some of these technologies is quite exorbitant that most of the youth cannot afford. Yes.
The alternative the youth would have maybe would be cooking using electricity, which is still quite expensive, I think.
Yeah. When I talk of the upfront cost, it is that initial cost which you put in, even if it's electricity. You should ensure that
you buy the cylinder. First of all, you even connect.
Yes, you connect.
You have to connect.
First of all, what kind of shelter do they have there? Some of them are so temporary that electricity pose more risk to their lives. Yes.
They will not even approve you. UEDCL will not approve connecting electricity to
True. Yes. So affordability is one of the barriers. Then we see also the infrastructural deficit on the side of the government, right? The connectivity of electricity infrastructure to the rural sector is still low, while we have that program of rural electrification. Yes, we have to agree that it's a gradual process. Not all the rural sectors have access to electricity. Maybe we need to give government some time to do that. In addition to infrastructural deficit and connectivity challenges, there is also a challenge of the unreliable financing of these clean technologies. Yes, you hinted a point on buying a cylinder. How many youth can afford? Okay, at the initial cost, maybe the youth can sell some bricks or maybe firewood and buy the cylinder. What about refill?
Yeah, refilling is usually a challenge because you give free cylinders. Even where government has tried to give free cylinders, the people will get the free cylinders, they use it, gets done, and it remains there because the refilling is a challenge.
Exactly. So that implies lack of sustainability. Yeah. Okay. Some youth may afford, but sustaining it becomes a little problem. And what happens in the long run? This youth sells the cylinder. They sell the cylinder, true. Exactly. The other challenge is the inadequate technical skills for the installation and repair. I can cite example of this on the solar use, right? Yeah, some of these solar equipments can be installed anywhere, but it also requires some basic technical skills to install and also maintain it. Yes. So if it is not well maintained, the durability also becomes a little challenge. And coupled with that, our market is dominated by fake products.
Oh, yeah. That's the whole,
yes.
the whole thing. Yes.
So these poor youth can generate some money. They acquire these technologies, but the durability is not there. Fake products dominate the market. You know, with Chinese products, whatever make you want, you can get it as long as you get the money.
Yeah, it depends on how much money you have. You get whatever you want.
Yes. Yes. Then the other challenge I can add there is that majority of the rural youth still lack basic information about the consequences of environmental degradation and its health-related challenges. Lack of awareness is a big problem. That's why, while there are policies which government has come up with to conserve the environment, they still risk. They still risk to access those conserved natural resources, like the swamps. They cultivate rice. Every year in, year out, they're cultivating rice. They're burning charcoal. They're making bricks. Yeah. So if their mind was informed that whatever activity we are doing on this resource will impact negatively on us, I think they would somehow reduce on exploitation of those natural resources, aware that it is them to face the dire consequence in the long run. So that's what I can say about the rural youth. Yes. On the other hand, the urban youth have shown significant interest and active engagement in clean energy, especially through entrepreneurial ventures. Yeah. They see that as an opportunity to make money. Yes. For example, in the urban center, the youth are involved in making, they call it biochar, the briquettes, as an alternative to chicken, to charcoal rather. Sorry about that. Yes. They would like to exploit that opportunity to earn a living. Unlike the rural youth are not knowledgeable about briquette making technology. The urban youth also participate in the solar energy solutions. In fact, I see them as more innovative than the rural youth. Yes, probably because they are more exposed. They are more exposed. They have, that information about the potential economic benefit of clean energy. Yeah. They know the benefits of using, a better alternative source of energy, like electricity. But their problem could be, the maintenance. The maintenance. Yes. Yeah. Somehow the urban youth are also informed about the policies governing the natural resource use. Given also the disparity in education level between the rural and the urban youth. Yeah, so the urban youth are more of advocates in policy changes compared to the rural youth. And actually they have shown to be more innovative. They are more innovative than the rural youth. And probably I would also conclude by saying that these urban youth have demonstrated more engagement in the mobile charging solutions compared to the rural youth. Yeah, but all those, the disparity comes as a result of exposure, education level, and also the finances, differences in finances.
And from that discussion of interests of the youth, I've at least seen that the youth usually, they are first, when it comes to energies, their first consideration is the cost of the energy and the cost of the energy, how much it costs, that is at home. But when it comes to business, their first consideration is, will it increase the cost of my business? Yes, usually those are the main things the youth are looking at. In the rural areas, you'll find they also question, the youth still look at the costs, and vis-a-vis in the urban, they are looking at the cost of the energy to the general business costs. Yes, but maybe do you have a way forward for this? Maybe for this, as regards this thing of balancing and protecting the interests of the youth in clean cooking energies.
Yeah, I think government of Uganda needs to engage all the youth, the rural as well as the urban youth. How? Government has introduced the Rural Electrification Authority, REA. And Uganda also has got Electricity Regulatory Authority. I think this body is well suited to provide training for the youth regardless of their location. Yes, the youth needs to be trained on how to become more innovative, and they also need to be engaged to become more advocates in policy reforms. And government should also subsidize the initial cost of accessing clean cooking energy, especially for the youth, to attract more of them, so that their interests can change, so that they can deviate from, getting firewood to maybe using, the gas as an alternative, and probably incent those who have shown interest to motivate quite a number of the youth.
Right, thank you for that. Maybe next, what we would like to discuss, in this, right now in Uganda, there's a lot of debates, especially in clean cooking energy transitions, to the extent that even when you go to the Ministry of Energy, there are a whole unit, is there a clean cooking unit in charge of this transition from use of biomass and other dirty fuels to cleaner cooking energy sources. We have so many, we have institutions that have been created to that. We have the UNECC, UNECCC. We have I've already talked about the clean cooking unit in the Ministry of Energy. In all these debates, and even we have the renewable energy policies and all these debates and all these coming up. But I would like to know, what is the role and place of the youth in these debates? What can the youth do to enhance their position as it comes to in these debates, really, what's the place of the youth?
Thank you very much, Geoffrey. Foremost, I would like to bring to your attention that the youth are not just mere passive participants in these energy transition debates and initiatives. Yeah, they are active participants. They are active in the sense that they are innovators. The youth have demonstrated their ingenuity by coming up with the new technologies like the apps. Recently, I was impressed by competition under STEM, in which the secondary schools in northern Uganda were involved. And there was this group of senior 2 boys from a school called Komboni College who came up with a technology on dustbin sensor. They developed an app that notifies the operator whenever the dustbin is full, that I am full.
Oh, that's
empty me.
That's
so that was very, very interesting.
That's
yes.
interesting.
Yeah. And such groups of young innovators need actually to be promoted. Secondly, I perceive the youth role as being change agents. The youth are very influential, being the majority in this country. If we take them up as change makers in the clean cooking energy transition debates, it will be very wonderful. And how do we do that? These young people are the drivers of technological advancement. Like I've said, they can create software, innovations, and they also create smart grids. Some of them have studied to the level of engineers, but you find that they are unemployed.
Yeah.
Yes, we need to interest them in this kind of innovation. Yes, so that they can design more of efficient, renewable energy technologies that this country can adopt.
Yes.
Yeah. So from 2 perspectives, innovators and change agents. Yeah. Secondly, I look at the youth in terms of energy transition, clean energy transition sustainability, because if we engage the youth to reduce on waste, maybe through recycling, we can involve them in reducing emission of these carbon gases into our atmosphere. Instead of waste dominating our environment, let this youth be motivated to collect this waste, and then I see now quite a number of investors investing in plastic recycling, for instance.
Yes.
We can bring them on board, as part of our discussion. It will keep them busy. It will not only earn them a living, but it would also be freeing the environment, actually, from pollution. Yeah. Then thirdly, I see the role of the youth as advocates and community educators. Yeah. The youth can support us in this initiative by mobilizing their counterparts. They use various means of, mobilization. They can use community-based, talk shows. These days we have quite a number of social media platforms. They can use it. We have the WhatsApp. We have the TikTok. We have the blogs. They can use all these initiatives to educate the communities about the benefits of renewable energy use. And this is one way through which our community can become aware of the benefits of using clean energy, from fuel, from charcoal and firewood to briquettes. You save the environment, but you also save your health. So in communication, to bridge that communication gap between the various communities that we have around. And lastly, I also see that the youth can be used to embrace sustainable practices and influencing the policy. Actually, young people can foster clean energy access to drive the transition faster than adults. Yeah. And by influencing policy on clean energy access, they will support this country to lower the carbon, retention in this country. And we shall have a low carbon economy. And finally, they will become leaders in creating not just a sustainable energy future, but a healthy environment that they will inherit years to come. Right. So the youth has a significant place or role in this debate. Thank you very much.
Yes. Now, finally, what we can maybe talk about is how, as we are coming to the end of the segment, we can talk about how can we use law and policy to enhance the role of the youth and livelihoods. How can we use this to enhance the role of the youth and their livelihoods, looking at the livelihoods of the youth, looking at the youth's well-being, the right to education, all those that we talked about. How can we use law and policy to enhance these in this agenda of the clean cooking energy transition?
Thank you very much once again, Geoffrey. Like I stated earlier that the youth are not just mere passive participants in this agenda of transiting into clean energy economy. They are active participants. We can engage the youth in quite a number of ways. That regards the use of policy to inform their livelihood. How? Education is one of the ways. Technology promotion is one. Entrepreneurship as well as policy influence. But specifically, I see that promoting youth or youth involvement through their respective organizational structures, which we have down there, is very paramount in this initiative. In fact, the youth advisory boards can help institutionalize their role in sustainable energy development and policy decisions. For example, Uganda is developing the national, has recently come up with the National Development Goal 4. Yes, NDP 4. That is one area which youth agenda could be taken care of. Yes. And we know that Uganda is a signatory to the United Nations, and the issue of access to clean energy is one of the fundamental goals in the Sustainable Development Goals. That is goal number 7. Yeah. We can bring the youth in this debate, yeah, because when we promote sustainable use of clean energy, we will be responding to that goal, which is goal 7, as well as goal 13, which talks about ending climate change by 2030. So promoting youth involvement through advisory bodies is so critical. Secondly, I also see that creating youth targeted policies is fundamental. Policies that actually single out the youth as a vulnerable population from the entire and promote decent and productive employment for the youth. For instance, we know that youth unemployment is one of the underlying or fundamental reasons why youth engage in environmental degradation. So if we can create that policy which improves the employment or opens up employment opportunities for the youth, then we shall be improving on their livelihood. And in this way, it will help them to tap into the clean energy. Yes, because they will no longer degrade the environment. If Uganda, for instance, can open up quite a number of regional industrial hubs, yes, regional industrial hubs would be one of the avenue, but that calls for a policy intervention. It's not just a one day, Yes, it calls for policy involvement. The next way of, of upholding youth livelihood vis-a-vis the existing laws and policies is raising the youth voices.
Yes.
We need to raise their voice on the importance of clean cooking solutions. And when we raise their voices, they will be aware of the harmful practices from those traditional cooking methods. Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, they can now take up the role of change agents or change makers to be advocates of clean cooking energy, because they will be informed. So this would really increase their participation in building a dynamic, inclusive, and financially sustainable energy industry. Yeah, raising their voice is very important. I also propose that promoting youth-led enterprises to develop and scale up clean energy solutions is as well a very important aspect, because this would connect them to the wider world there, especially the investors who would pick interest in them. I gave example of this group of youth that innovated the dustbin app. Yes, if this kind of youth can be connected to investors so that they scale up that knowledge, yes, they can gain. They can, gain patent, and of course that would open an avenue for them in the long run, and they benefit from their ingenuity. Yeah. Empowerment is one of the areas that I feel is critical in this debate. Yeah.
Yes.
So empowering the youth is a critical issue. All stakeholders in the clean energy sector and debate, because it will ensure that the youth inclusive opportunities across all sectors are uplifted. And when we empower this youth, it is also one way of building up their networks. Empowerment involves a lot of, components. Empowerment is about getting information. Empowerment is about capacity building. Empowerment is about skills development. Yeah. So if we can have policies and laws which support youth along that aspect, not only going through the formal education system, yeah, but we have many youth out of school. How can we mobilize them and empower them to become important citizens in as far as promotion of clean energy in this economy is concerned? And more importantly is promoting research.
Yes.
Yes. We need to continuously engage in research. We need to investigate the emerging challenges in as far as clean energy is concerned. Yes. When we continuously undertake research, we are able to generate new knowledge that can inform policies regarding youth involvement in this sector.
Yes.
And this policy will be supported by evidence. So continuous researching in this area is paramount if we are to realize our goal of transiting from this, the use of biofuel into clean energy sources. So continuous research is very important. I also see that involving youth in leadership is very important. Yes, we need to bring them. We know that they are innovative, but they need to be led. There should be someone amongst that group of the youth to guide them. So we need to encourage the youth to take up leadership in as far as these opportunities are concerned. And where the youth has come up as talented in leadership, We need to support them to showcase their talents in as far as championing clean energy is concerned. That will also interest other youths down there to join the initiative or the group. And finally, I suggest that we need to interest or invest in the youth career path, not only in the formal education, but in all sectors, to make them holistic human capital in this country. There was this debate between this excellency and the arts teachers recently, where he said this country does not need you as compared to the scientists. Yes. Science is not just about going to class and sitting. Science is within the community. Yes. How do you come up with initiatives that solve community problems? That is already science.
That's really science.
Yes.
Science.
Yes. So we need to, support the youth to develop their careers along these clean energy innovations. Yes. When we encourage them to take up that path, we also need to support them and incent them as a way of motivating them. Probably that could be the reason why the science teachers are now being more remunerated compared to the arts, but they all matter. So that's what I can say about the three concepts: the law, policy, and youth livelihood, in as far as the use of clean energy is concerned in this country.
Yes. Thank you so much for this quite interesting debate. I see so many policy and law and policy issues that you push forward, especially in regards to bringing the youth inside to be major drivers of this energy transition that we are in. I hope these are picked up, because they are really good ideas that can help to drive the energy transition agenda. As the common saying of nothing about us without us.
Yes, true.
That would really, it's really touching, and it's very important for this discussion, especially as regards youth. Nothing about us without us.
Yes.
True. Thank you for that. Maybe just you can maybe give us your concluding remarks for as we conclude this, and just you can give us how we can conclude this this discussion.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much, Geoffrey rather. Sorry for that. By way of conclusion, I would say that transitioning into a clean energy economy is very important. However, it should be a gradual process that calls for a concerted efforts of all stakeholders, with the youth inclusive. Yes. It also has to be an holistic process which covers the entire components of the economy, socially, politically, economically, and otherwise. Socially, I say this because transitioning involves mindset transformation. If we do not create awareness in our population, all these efforts will be in vain. Yes? Yeah. So mindset is very important in the transitioning process. Economically, I take this to government. Affordability of clean cooking energy is very important. How can government make these cooking energy fuels affordable and sustainable by the common man there? Distributing the gas cylinders, one of is not sufficient enough. How about the sustainability component? How I wish government can subsidize the refilling cost for the community down there to be able to, utilize it. Not just the gas cylinder, I cited an example. Electricity cost. The cost is exorbitantly high. Even myself, who is employed by the university, I cannot afford to use electricity for cooking in my house. Yes, because the unit cost is too high. It's too high. So how I wish government could subsidize the unit cost of electricity as a clean source of energy. We would achieve this, this initiative together. Politically, government should come up with supportive policies. The policy should support, extension of, electricity grid into those inaccessible areas, especially the rural settings. There should be, connectivity, and the cost should be subsidized. The initial cost of, connecting these into the rural households is very important. In the urban sectors, we can afford it. The connection, our challenge is sustainability. Yes. So that's why I am saying that achieving a low carbon economy in Uganda requires a concerted effort of all key stakeholders, politically, socially, and economically. But specifically for the youth, they need to be involved in every step of policy formulation if we are to succeed. Let them be part and parcel of the process of transitioning. Yeah, that's what I can say.
Right. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having this discussion with you, with so many aspects and different areas being brought. Thank you so much for being available to have this discussion.
It's a pleasure.
Yes. We have come now to the end of our episodes on rurality, youth, and charcoal livelihoods in Uganda. We hope that this conversation has improved the understanding of the relationship between cooking energy and youth livelihoods in Uganda. In this discussion, we've explored several aspects, including the different interests of different youth groups. We've also explored how youths can take part in energy transition policies, and also we've also explored the different important aspects of like charcoal and other cooking energy fuels to youth livelihoods. We've done this with our distinguished guest, Dr. Mary Ejang. Please look out for next episodes as we dig deeper into this question on localizing debates on cooking fuels amid energy transition and climate change dilemmas in Uganda. Thank you so much.
We build for the future, the great Makerere. Great, great and mighty, the walls around thee. Great, great and mighty, the gates beside thee. Great, great and mighty, the walls around thee. Great, great and mighty, the gates beside thee.